I accidentally got pregnant with the heir of our sworn enemy's family. Out of a moment of weakness, I decided to keep the baby. At my daughter's 1-month celebration, the guests couldn't stop murmuring, "Those green eyes of the little one really resemble the Dawson family's young master." I panicked and blurted out, "Ha ha! Her dad's mixed race." What I didn't expect was that the baby's father was actually there, staring at his kid and me with a deadly gaze. Today's my daughter's full-month celebration. More than half the elite families of Jiang City showed up at the Delaney residence to offer their congratulations. I stood in my bedroom, looking down at the little girl in my arms, my heart melting, her soft, chubby cheeks, fair skin. She looked just like me in every way. Except, unfortunately, she took after her father with those green eyes. Luckily, she was still a sleepy newborn and rarely opened them. Once I made sure she was asleep, I went downstairs with a big smile on my face. The moment I stepped downstairs, all eyes turned to me. A few families close to the Delaneys came over and couldn't take their eyes off my baby. "Look at those thick brows and big eyes. That nose and mouth, she's the spitting image of Miss Delaney. She really inherited the best features of the Delaney line. Born with the grace of the Delaney bloodline, old Miss Delaney finally has an heir." My grandpa beamed with pride. "Of course! She's my granddaughter. How could she not be exceptional?" Then, with a cold snort, he added, "Unlike the Dawson family after all these years, not a single child in their generation. No wonder their bloodline's so thin." At the mention of the Dawson name, I tightened my grip on my daughter, silently crying on the inside. "Grandpa, the man you're trashing is your great-granddaughter's biological father." But I couldn't let him know that the Delaneys and the Dawsons are mortal enemies. Come to think of it, my daughter's currently the only heir of the Dawson line. The only one. The feud between our families, rooted in some great-grandfather-level grudge, has lasted until today. We're like fire and water. If Grandpa finds out my child is from the Dawson family, God help me. To keep things from slipping out, I quickly changed the subject. "Grandpa, babies have weak immune systems. I think I should take Emily back upstairs to rest. The longer we stayed out here, the higher the risk of exposure. I had no idea what Grandpa might do if he found out the truth. But of course, my mouth had to jinx it. Just as Grandpa said, 'All right,' a deafening wail split the air. Wah! She woke up. Damn it. My stupid mouth never works for the good, only the bad. I scrambled to calm her down, but the more I tried, the harder she cried. Her wails echoed through the entire banquet hall. Just then, the crowd began to stir. Whoa, the little miss has green eyes. She really does. Am I seeing things, or do her eyes look kinda like the Dawson heirs? One voice after another filled the room. Even Grandpa was shooting me a confused look. Game over. Grandpa had never seen my daughter with her eyes open, so he never knew Emily had green eyes. I instinctively covered her eyes. My brain short-circuited, and I blurted out, "Ha ha ha! Her dad's mixed. Thank God I'm quick on my feet." If word got out that I was carrying the enemy's kid, my great-grandfather would be rolling in his grave. I'd be dead meat. Well, well, Jennifer Delaney, aren't you full of surprises? When did your taste change? I must have missed the memo. Just as I was starting to feel relieved, a voice rang out from across the room, dripping with sarcasm. My heart dropped. I took a step back instinctively. Luke Dawson? What the hell is he doing here? Don't tell me he knows the baby's his. No way I snuck out that night. There's no way he figured it out. The crowd suddenly parted. Luke stood there, emanating a menacing aura, eyes locked on me and the baby in my arms. His icy green eyes matched my daughter's perfectly. I swallowed hard, frozen in place. My mind wandered back to that night a year ago. He had looked just as dangerous then, but in the end he let me have my way with him. Back then he wasn't like this. While I was lost in thought, Luke had already walked up to me. Black suit, cold and aloof, face expressionless. His sharp, phoenix-like eyes lowered, staring intently at the baby in my arms. Under his gaze, I completely panicked. What now? The baby's dad showed up in person. Thankfully, Grandpa stepped in front of me, slammed his cane down hard, and snapped, "What are you doing here, Dawson brat? The Delaney's didn't invite you." Grandpa had inherited our great-grandfather's hatred for the Dawson family, so he was never polite to them. I took the chance and bolted upstairs, but Luke moved faster. He cut me off and blocked my path. His green eyes grew colder. "Jennifer, the baby's father." Before he could finish, my daughter wailed again, louder and more heartbreaking than ever. I couldn't bother replying. I rushed to soothe her, but no matter what I did, she wouldn't stop crying. She kept squirming in my arms until a voice came from above. "Let me hold her." It was Luke, and I don't know if it was some kind of father-daughter connection, but the moment he held her, she stopped crying, just like that. She even blinked up at him with those identical green eyes full of curiosity. Me? Damn it, she likes her dad. Luke stood frozen, holding Emily, so still it was unsettling. Something felt off. I sensed danger and reached out to take her back, but Luke stepped away. He narrowed those green eyes, gaze locked on Emily's, then slowly looked up at me. His voice was low and razor-sharp. "Jennifer, whose child is this?" My scalp went numb. I looked away, avoiding his probing stare. I couldn't help but grumble in my head. How sharp is his vision that he figured it out with just one look. In novels, the male lead never recognizes the kid until they're like 4 or 5. But he gets it in a glance. With eyesight that good, and he still ended up in bed with me that night? If we weren't mortal enemies, someone might think he's been secretly into me. "Luke, what are you doing here? This is my daughter's full-month celebration. Give Emily back to me." I reached for my baby, but Luke raised an eyebrow and suddenly leaned in, close face, just inches from mine. I could smell the cool scent of cedarwood on him just like that night, when he wrapped around me from behind, every touch soaking in deeper and deeper until his fingers slowly trailed along the back of my neck, lingering there. My tailbone tingled uncontrollably. I choked. "Jennifer, oh Jennifer, is this really the time for such thoughts?" Emily was still in Luke's arms. His expression turned even more unreadable, making me anxious. But to my surprise, he actually handed her back to me and murmured in a voice only the two of us could hear, "Jennifer, she's mine, isn't she?" That night, I knew it was you. What happened that night between me and Luke was pure accident. Though the Delaneys and Dawsons were mortal enemies, Luke and I grew up together. The feud was all thanks to our elders' obsession with winning. Every time we met, it became a proxy war for our families. Luke's parents were fairly civil, but my grandfather and his grandfather, they clung to their grudges like gospel. Over time, Luke and I drifted apart. The night we crossed the line was all because of a drinking party. Everyone in Jiang City knew our families didn't get along, so event planners always made sure we weren't seated together. But that night, pure setup. Luke and I were placed side by side. I had a strong suspicion the host just wanted to stir up drama. At the table, we ignored each other. Even our toasts were thinly veiled jabs. It quickly turned into a drinking duel, glass after glass, neither backing down. Before we knew it, we ended up in bed. When I woke up the next morning, sore all over, I turned my head and saw Luke lying beside me, eyes closed, hand possessively resting on my waist. My brain short-circuited for a good few seconds. I shut my eyes, opened them again, trying to rationalize 1,000 scenarios, but none of them included me actually sleeping with my archenemy. Damn it, how did that even happen? I racked my brain for answers, but came up empty. I looked back at Luke. Gulp. He was built. I swallowed hard and, like I was possessed, reached for his abs. Damn, he felt good. Who would have thought that the cool, slim Luke was hiding such a body under that suit? What a waste! Too bad he was the enemy. So I snuck out and erased every trace of that night. How did he still remember? And know it was me? What are you talking about? I have no idea what you mean. I backed away a few steps and turned to head upstairs, feigning confusion. But then he said from behind me, voice cold and eerie, "Deny it all you want. I don't mind being the stepdad. Young Master Dawson wants to be stepdad trended the next day, dominating the hot search list and crushing every other headline." Gossip-hungry netizens went wild, speculating about Luke's motive. Guess what happened between me and my archenemy over the years? She got pregnant, and I became her kid's stepdad. Stepdad? That's the real dad. I knelt on the floor in silence, listening to Grandpa read those online comments through gritted teeth. I had to admit, netizens always had front-row seats to the drama. "Jennifer!" Grandpa suddenly roared my name. I straightened up reflexively. "Yes? Tell me, who is Emily's real father?" "Who else?" "Luke, obviously." But there's no way I could say that out loud. "Grandpa, didn't I already tell you? Emily's father is mixed." I wasn't exactly lying. Luke was 1/8 foreign. That counts as mixed. I swear to you, I'm not lying about that. Or else let the father. Before I could finish, a low male voice came from the doorway. Or else let the father what? I snapped my head up to see Luke and his grandfather standing there, watching me with amused expressions. Great! I swore right onto the guy himself. I clammed up immediately, head lowered like a guilty quail. If I've committed a crime, please let the law punish me, not my mortal enemy watch me make a fool of myself. Ugh, I wanted to disappear into a hole. Grandpa, seeing me like that, banged his cane against the floor in fury. He glared toward the doorway. "Old man Dawson, what are you doing here?" As for why the Dawsons and Delaney's hated each other so much aside from the great-grandfather grudge, most of it stemmed from the grandpas. Rumor had it Grandpa liked someone who ended up falling for Luke's grandfather instead. And well, he never let that go. Even though he eventually met Grandma, the grudge remained. And that tension got passed down to Luke and me. We were the most promising heirs of our generation. With nothing else to compete over, our grandfathers turned us into their proxy war. Over time, even childhood bonds wore thin. Once we took over our respective companies as adults, We barely interacted. At work, we ignored each other. Who knew fate would throw such a curveball, and now I was pregnant with his kid? I'm just here to offer my congratulations, Grandpa Dawson said, nervously stroking his beard. His eyes darted everywhere. My heart sank. Grandpa Dawson never acted this awkward around my grandpa. That could only mean one thing, he knew, Emily, was Luke's daughter. I'm doomed. So very doomed. Brother Delaney, mind if I take a look at your little princess? Luke's going to be her stepdad soon anyway. Just a peek shouldn't hurt, right? Grandpa Dawson looked desperate, completely throwing me off. Huh? Stepdad? Wait, Luke didn't tell him the truth? I snuck a glance at Luke and found him staring right back at me. The moment our eyes met, I forgot how to breathe. His gaze was intense, almost predatory. What the hell? Why was he looking at me like that? Wait, could it be? Does he actually like me? I quickly lowered my head, trying to find any evidence that he did, but I found nothing. I told myself it was impossible. It had to be because of Emily. That's the only explanation. Grandpa, hearing what Grandpa Dawson said, looked stunned. You out of your damn mind? He blurted it out, too shocked to hold back. Then his suspicious eyes shifted to Luke. Why's your family so eager to play daddy? Since when is the Dawson geezer so generous? I shrank back again, heart pounding. I still had no idea why Grandpa Dawson was playing along with Luke, but one thing was clear, he knew the truth. What Grandpa said next almost made me choke. Tell me the truth, Dawson geezer. Is your boy shooting blanks and trying to use my lingling as cover? His voice suddenly boomed. The room went dead silent. If Luke were infertile, then where did my kid come from? I knew something was off. You're not that generous. Grandpa was getting more and more fired up. No wonder your Luke's been so celibate all these years. I used to think he was just self-disciplined. Turns out he's just dysfunctional. Looks like your Dawson family's never getting a great-granddaughter. Grandpa didn't have many hobbies, but watching Grandpa Dawson choke was one of them. When I first found out I was pregnant, Grandpa called Grandpa Dawson right away to brag, completely smug about it. After all, Luke and I were both only children, and both families had been dying for us to marry and give them grandkids. But we were both commitment phobes who ran the other way at the mention of marriage, which had always been a major headache for the elders. Still, my sudden pregnancy gave Grandpa something to boast about. To make sure everything stayed under wraps, I told him I used donor sperm from abroad and even changed the timeline. I stayed overseas for an entire year, didn't return home until after Emily was born, and then through her full-month celebration. How was I supposed to know Luke had eagle eyes? I silently cursed in my head when out of nowhere, Luke, who had been quiet all this time, suddenly spoke up, smiling gently. Grandpa Delaney, my grandfather would be thrilled if I were Emily's father. Isn't that right, Grandpa? As soon as he finished, Grandpa Dawson rushed forward, grabbed my grandpa's hand, and said, Brother Delaney, just let me see little Emily. Forget letting Luke be her stepdad. I'd be fine if he married into your family. I was completely dumbfounded. Married in? Was Grandpa Dawson really that desperate? When Emily finally ended up in his arms, and those matching green eyes, one big, one small, looked up at each other, Grandpa finally got it. He glared at me through clenched teeth. Didn't you say Emily's father was mixed? With those identical green eyes, you're telling me her dad's mixed. Seeing how furious he was, I mumbled a weak defense. Isn't Luke mixed? I wasn't lying. Grandpa choked on his words and could only vent his anger by furiously banging his cane. One day your great-grandfather's gonna rise from his grave in rage because of you. I didn't argue. If my great-grandfather came crawling out, wouldn't Luke's great-grandfather do the same? And who would clean up the mess then? Now that the truth was out, Grandpa looked at Grandpa Dawson with even more disgust, especially since he was still holding Emily and beaming with joy. "Oh, my precious Emily, you're so adorable. Dawson, old man, she's my great-granddaughter. She's mine too. What do you mean yours? Emily carries Delaney blood. She's also a Dawson." Delaney? Dawson. So that's it, huh, Dawson? Your family's line is so thin, you've got your eyes on Emily? What do you mean I've got my eyes on her? Emily's got Dawson blood too. She's one of us. No way I'm letting my great-granddaughter get involved with the Dawsons. You're unreasonable, Delaney. As the two old men bickered louder and louder, Luke quietly dragged me out to the next room. Once the door closed, he pressed me against it, eyes dark and intense. "Jennifer, why did you block me? I've been looking for you." After that drunken night, I was terrified he'd come looking for me, so I blocked him and cut off everything related to him. When I found out I was pregnant, my first thought was to get rid of it, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Once everything was arranged, I left the country without hesitation. Not even Grandpa knew where I'd gone. And now he's telling me he's been looking for me this whole time? I turned my head away awkwardly. "What were you looking for me for? Planning to get revenge?" I only slept with him once, and ended up pregnant. But was that enough to make him chase me down like this? Was he really that petty? "Looking for you?" "Obviously to make you take responsibility," Luke said, in the calmest tone possible, with the most outrageous claim. "Take responsibility? Did I hear that right? How did you know it was me that night?" I had erased all traces. How did he figure it out? "Jennifer, I was drunk, not stupid. And you were the one who started it. Need me to help you recall?" His voice was even and unbothered, but then he grabbed my hand and placed it on his shirt. His green eyes were filled with a swirl of emotions. "After you got drunk, I took you to the hotel. As soon as the door closed, you were like this." He yanked my hand hard, and with a loud rip, "You tore my shirt to shreds." I stared, stunned, at the glimpse of skin exposed beneath. Was I really that aggressive? But he wasn't done. He guided my hand lower again. My face flushed red with embarrassment. "I don't think that's necessary." Luke didn't respond, but his gaze turned cold. I instantly went limp like a deflated balloon, letting him do as he pleased. "You had your way with my upper body and still weren't satisfied. You even bit my Adam's apple." Ahem. That part I do remember. "I became yours. So naturally, you have to take responsibility." With that, Luke let go of my hand and slowly straightened out the tattered remains of his shirt. "Besides, you took my kid and ran." The mention of our child clearly irritated him. His voice grew tinged with frustration. "You blocked me, dumped me, and even hid the fact that we had a child." God knows, the moment he heard I was back, I was already planning Emily's full-month party. He was furious. He even seriously considered becoming the stepdad to her baby. The more Luke spoke, the guiltier I felt. It wasn't like I had a choice. We're sworn enemies. If Grandpa found out I was carrying the enemy's kid, he'd skin me alive. And besides, you hate me too, don't you? I'd always assumed Luke didn't like me ever since high school. The first time I saw Luke, I was 5. Grandpa brought me to a banquet where we ran into Grandpa Dawson and little Luke. The 2 old men immediately started bickering in front of us, necks stretched out as they argued over which one of us was better. I'd never met Luke before, but Grandpa talked about him so much it was impossible to forget the name. So I hid behind Grandpa and secretly observed Luke. He was a few months older than me, quietly standing off to the side while the 2 old men quarrelled, face expressionless until he noticed me peeking from behind Grandpa. We locked eyes for a long time. While the old men remained oblivious, he took my hand and quietly led me away. We snuck off to a koi pond in the banquet hall. Once we confirmed no one was following, he let out a breath and pulled me down to sit beside him. Phew! Finally escaped. You're Jennifer? He rested his little cold face on his hand, tilting his head to look at me. I was a bit surprised he knew my name, but I still nodded. Grandpa talks about you all the time, so this is what you look like. He seemed very curious about me, staring at me again and again. My grandpa talks about you too. He says you're the most outstanding of the Dawson generation. But he was really good looking, fair and soft, made me want to pinch his cheeks. I didn't dare, so I just sat quietly. Neither of us had realized our grandpas were like this. I heard from Grandpa that our families are mortal enemies. What's a mortal enemy? I didn't understand the term then. Luke kindly explained. It means we're on opposing sides. I widened my eyes. Then you're my mortal enemy? 5-year-old Luke looked unsure. He shook his head, then nodded. I got even more confused. So are we or aren't we? Our grandpas are enemies, but we're not. He thought for a long time before coming up with that answer. To be honest, he was so good looking, I didn't want to be enemies with him. If we weren't enemies, then we must be friends. Then you're my friend, I said excitedly, and gave him a kiss on the cheek. The teacher said, if you like someone, you give them a kiss. Luke's little face turned red in an instant, and he stammered that I shouldn't kiss him. I was confused. Isn't kissing how you show you like someone? Unfortunately, our grandpas sent people to find us, so we had to sneak away. After that, even though our grandpas remained at odds, Luke and I became good friends in secret. He even told me very seriously that good friends shouldn't just go around kissing each other. Things stayed peaceful until high school. Everyone thought we were rivals who had to outdo each other in everything. But behind the scenes, we helped each other. And as our grandpas aged, their hostility lessened too. Sometimes they could even have a civil conversation. Of course, they still argued. Things were fine until I overheard Luke talking to one of his buddies. His buddy, knowing about the family feud, didn't hold back. Luke, man, how long are you and the Delaney heiress going to keep this competition going? You were rivals in elementary, middle, and now high school. You guys going to keep it up forever? Even though Luke and I were friends in private, we were also competitors. Aren't you tired of competing after all these years? His friend had a point. Constantly going head to head would wear anyone down. Tired. That one word from Luke sent me spiraling. So he was tired too. It made sense. Publicly, we were rivals. Privately, allies. After so many years, he must have had enough. He probably didn't like me. Maybe it was all in my head. Our families were sworn enemies. No matter how hard I tried, that wouldn't change. Since I already knew how it would end, better to kill the feelings early. From that day on, I started pulling away from Luke. Even though I knew it wasn't his fault, I didn't want to keep going. "You really think I don't like you?" Luke's whole demeanor turned dark and heavy. I gave an awkward laugh. "Ha ha ha, it's all in the past. Let's not bring it up. Besides, what's done is done, and I've got his kid now. It's not in the past." Luke's tone stayed firm. He gripped my chin not hard, forcing me to meet his eyes. His gaze was sharp as he said, word by word, "Jennifer, I like you. I've always liked you. Since the day we met at 5 years old, I've liked you more every year. I know our families are full of obstacles, but I'm not afraid. Every heartbeat has told me to keep chasing after you. It's where my heart belongs. It's fate. I'm tired of hiding my feelings, tired of pretending to be your rival, and tired of our families being at odds. Back then, I didn't have the power to change things. By the time he did, I was already avoiding him like the plague. Jennifer, I like you, so much that my whole heart is filled with you. Don't leave me, okay?" His tall frame slowly bent down. Luke wrapped his arms around my waist, resting his head on my shoulder, whispering softly. I was too stunned to react, just stood there letting him hold me, blinking as the world spun around me. Luke likes me. And for that long? In a daze, I felt something wet soak through my shoulder. Luke was crying, whispering apologies. "I'm sorry, I should have told you sooner. Please don't leave me. I'd never seen Luke so cautious before." Just as I was about to say something, the tightly shut door was suddenly flung open. Grandpa stood there holding my daughter, Dawson Grandpa, next to him. He stared at Luke's torn shirt and then at us, voice cracking with shock. "Jennifer, is this forced love?" I coughed into my hand and quickly pushed Luke away. "Grandpa, I swear I'm innocent." But now the shredded shirt was even more visible, and the tears at the corners of Luke's eyes made Grandpa even more convinced. He turned and hurriedly pulled Grandpa Dawson out of the room. "See no evil, hear no evil. Come on, Dawson, let's go." He didn't forget to return my daughter before leaving. Great, this misunderstanding was beyond fixing now. Meanwhile, Luke didn't care at all. He leaned in and stared at the baby in my arms. There's no denying blood ties. Emily broke into a big grin the moment she saw Luke. "Can I hold her?" His voice was soft, almost tentative. I gave in and handed Emily over. But to my surprise, Luke held her like a pro. "Your family doesn't have any babies this generation, right?" I asked hesitantly. Grandpa wasn't wrong when he said the Dawson family had a thin bloodline. Luke was the only one left, so how was he so good at handling a baby? Luke looked down at our daughter, his voice unusually gentle. "When I heard you were back for her full-month celebration, I went to parenting classes to prepare to be a stepdad." Wait, he was serious? My feelings were a mess. The trending topic still hadn't cooled down. Luke had pretty much moved into my house. Netizens were going crazy trying to figure out who my daughter's real father was. Some even started begging online for Luke's daily dad life vlog. With no better option, and after getting Luke's permission, I filmed a few clips and uploaded them online. In the videos, Luke cradled our daughter in his arms, gently rocking her while humming a soothing tune. The whole scene radiated strong husband vibes. Emily pursed her lips into a smile at him. The internet exploded. Ah, never thought I'd live to see a man, Mum, drooling uncontrollably over here. Husband material, slurp, slurp. This baby is way too cute, my heart's melting. Who's forming a team to steal her? Ah, I can't take it. Can I kiss her? Just a tiny, tiny kiss. Huh? Posting this publicly? I'm replying with the grabby hands meme. I'm a college student. Hand over the baby, thanks. So fragrant, so soft, so adorable, wah. Give her to me, I need her. Hey, hey, Auntie wants a nibble. Move aside, I'm stepping in as her stepdad. Not gonna lie, I'm the baby's dad. Who you foolin'? That baby's clearly mine. The internet was full of self-declared dads, but some sharp-eyed users picked up on the truth. Stepdad? That's gotta be the real dad. Their eyes are exactly the same. No wonder he wants to be the stepdad. Turns out he's the actual father. Case closed. My archenemy's trying to be my baby's stepdad, but surprise, it's his kid all along. Single folks behind the screen just took 10. 0 emotional damage. 999,999. Forget enemies, the only ones suffering here are us. The internet was in chaos, and right then, Luke dropped a bomb on Weibo. Luke, the child is mine. So is she. I've had a crush on her for years now. I'm pursuing her. That post blew up his account. No way, you already have such an adorable kid, and now you're saying you're chasing the mum too? Let us breathe. Baby in one arm, baby mama in the other. Ever think about how we single dogs feel? This was never enemies to lovers. This was premeditated. Tusk, tusk. I have nothing more to say to the both of you. I turned to Luke with a wild, disbelieving look, but he remained dead serious. I've already told our grandpas everything. They feel guilty too, and promise they won't stand in our way anymore. Ling, I'm going to pursue you all over again. If you don't want to be with me, I'll respect that. You gave birth to our child alone overseas. You must have suffered a lot. Let me take care of the baby now. Luke spoke with complete sincerity. He had even thought through our whole future. And what if I've fallen for someone else? He froze for a few seconds before regaining composure. That's okay. I'll win you back. I had to admit Luke was amazing at taking care of the baby. I didn't have to worry about a thing. I stayed home, eating and chilling, while occasionally uploading more clips of Luke being a hands-on dad. But after a while, even Grandpa couldn't take it anymore. He cornered me one day, stammering awkwardly. Jennifer, Emily's 5 months old now. Don't you have any thoughts? Thoughts? What thoughts? Well, about you and Luke, you know. We know we were wrong back then. But now that you have a child together, maybe it's time to just be together. These days, our grandpas didn't argue anymore. Instead, they fought over Emily's affection and couldn't wait to show her off to the world. Now, my relationship with Luke had become their top priority. They pushed for it daily. But Luke and I had already talked. I preferred our current arrangement, and he didn't push. He said whenever I was ready, we could make it official. Grandpa had no choice but to mope off and discuss strategy with Grandpa Dawson. After he left, Luke came out of the other room holding our daughter. "Grandpa's pressuring you again?" He looked at me and silently handed her over. I kissed her cheek and nodded. "Yeah, I'll talk to him when I get the chance." He sighed, then suddenly leaned in closer. His gaze darkened and his voice dropped to a whisper. "Jennifer, want to come to my room tonight? I bought something you like." "Something I like?" I paused mid-bounce while soothing Emily, met his eyes and smiled knowingly. That night, I went to Luke's room and the door stayed shut the entire night.